I was just like, okay, I want to get 3 in a row because that's the record.
Totally.
And I was like, okay, I'm still feeling kind of good. I want to get 4. I want to beat the record. And once I got that, I was like, oh,
yeah.
I guess I'll keep going, you know?
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a team captain of Hollywood Freerunner and a world record holder in World Chase Tag. Please welcome back to the Jamcast, Mr. Kyle Soderman. What's up, man?
Yo, what up?
Yo.
So good to be back.
Dude, I'm loving the shirt, too. I love that you wore the practice jersey.
Oh, dude, thank you.
So sick.
Figure we want to be a little bit more professional this year. So we got practice jerseys, nice new pants for Chase Tag, so
yes.
feeling good.
And did you guys pick the color and design, or is that like auto-determined by the World Chase Tag organization?
That was actually just came completely by chance where we just got pink last year.
Okay.
And we just kind of rolled with it this year. They asked us, like, yo, does anyone want to change their colors? We're like, no. I mean, pink pops, you know?
You're like, we stand out super well.
Exactly.
That is crazy, man. And now for anyone that is a fan of the Jamcast or listened to previous episodes, we had you on previously. And what was unique about that experience was that we really couldn't divulge too many secrets about what had happened in season 1, or I guess World Chase Tag USA 2020.
Yeah, that was a little bit interesting of a time because we already filmed it. I knew what happened.
Exactly.
And they were releasing it through NBCSN, which was months on end to where we wouldn't figure out the final results until later on. But now with this year, we got all live on ESPN.
So cool. And so for those that didn't get to catch last year's, and for those that don't really know what World Chase Tag is, obviously I don't want to rehash what we talked about in our first podcast, but could you just give like a cliff notes of what World Chase Tag encompasses and what it embodies?
Yeah, so World Chase Tag is just what it sounds. It's professional tag. Literally a chaser, an evader. You have 2 teams of 6 guys, and you play tag. And it's all on one 40-foot by 40-foot, what we call the quad.
Yes.
And we just have a good old game of tag. So, yeah, it's really simple, but ton of fun.
Heck yeah. And now I think one of the things that's super cool about it is obviously I've been a fan of it since its early YouTube days, and I'm sure some of our listeners and audience have seen it on YouTube. A lot of the clips have millions and millions of views, but it's really cool that they've kind of branched out from that European side, and now they're doing stuff more centered in the state side. And specifically the last 2 years, we've done championships here in the United States focused on U.S. athletes.
Yeah, so the past couple of years, like you said, has just been U.S. based.
Yeah.
And I think they're really doing that just because of COVID and all those issues. It's a little bit easier to film stuff here. But I know they are planning the next international competition, and we can get a little bit more into that once we talk about results of this year and last year. But yeah, I'm hopefully going to be looking forward to the international competition.
So sick, man. And now for anyone that didn't get a chance to watch last season's, here's a spoiler alert. And we're going to spoil a few things because both seasons are actually fully been displayed this time. Yeah. So for those who didn't watch 2020, Hollywood Freerunner, you guys actually placed second in the entire competition.
Yeah, so 2020 was insane. None of us, it was all of our first time on the quad and competing, so we had no idea what to expect. And we came out there with a vengeance and ended up getting second place. Like you said, I got the world record of the most evasions consecutively, which before was only 3.
3, and you doubled it.
Yeah. So I ended up doubling it, which, I mean, I trained super, super hard for that competition. So I guess I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I'm just happy that it showed.
Yeah, 100%. And so for those that don't really know the format of the show, I'm going to try to explain it, but just correct me if I'm wrong. So one team will start as the chaser, one person's the evader. If the evader is able to not get tagged for 20 seconds, they gain a point. Is that correct? And if you evaded that 20 seconds successfully, you stay on the course to then get chased by a new member of the opposing team who then has 20 seconds to try to tag you again.
Yeah.
And as long as you evade for 20 seconds, you get 1 point per 20 seconds. And you stay on the course with only, I think, 25-second recovery.
Yep. So
that's the hardest part.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I train super hard just because, like, you only get 25 seconds.
Yeah.
And when you're running for 20 seconds at 100% power and 100% pace, that drains you immediately.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up running a track and field for my entire life, right? But I think the best way to put it in perspective is like, if you guys ever watched the 200-meter dash in the Olympics or the 100 meters, it's a 9 to 19 second race.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, some guys are on the ground like dying for oxygen. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to recover and get their legs under them. And you guys literally have a 20-second burst, have to recover and then run right again. So
yeah, it's hard. Dude, it's really hard.
totally, bro. And I think what was so crazy about yours, which is, you know, not only did you smash the record by doing 6 successful evasions in a row, but how many points away from actually skunking or winning the whole game were you yourself?
I think it was 2 more races or 2 more chases I would have had to get through in order to basically just win the entire
Win the
thing.
round.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous. Like, I wasn't thinking about that when I was actually doing it. I was just like, okay, I want to get 3 in a row because that's the record.
Totally.
And I was like, okay, I'm still feeling kind of good. I want to get 4. I want to beat the record. And once I got that, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I guess I'll keep going, you know?
And so when you got tagged on that 7th pass, it did look like you were a little tired. Do you think exhaustion was the reason why you got caught in that one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like, 10,000%. I was completely, like what you were saying at track and field, you're laying on the ground. I was straight up just laying on the ground dead. And I think it was after like 5, I completely changed up my technique. Because usually I just like run.
Yeah,
and
you
I
started
use
being
my
more
speed.
strategic.
Yeah, I started being more strategic because I knew I couldn't run anymore. So I was just like spinning around the tilted cube trying to stay away.
That's so good. And so with that being said, I had to ask, do you think it benefited your team in the sense that they got to rest for 6 rounds in a row? Or do you think it was detrimental in the sense that you got a little more gas than any of them did?
I would say no, because we had plenty of time to recover for the next matchups, and I think the only thing that would have been detrimental to the team in a whole is that not everyone got to go on my team.
Experience, yeah.
And it's hard to say which way it goes because, yes, for one, they didn't get much more time on the quad that day, but at the same time, we all already competed the day before, so it was probably a nice break for all of them.
100%. And now in season 1, we kind of touched on it but couldn't really fully give it away. But did anyone sustain any major injuries that pulled them out of the competition or hindered them?
As far as I know, no one got any serious injuries, but as a lot of people know, Omar with his
we did see his leg bruise,
huge knee wreck on his very first chase, like touching the quad. First time ever like touching the quad for an actual chase.
Yes.
He destroyed his knee and like somehow just got back up and kept competing. And I wish, I mean, if you're able to throw up a picture of his knee, because that thing was like puffed up,
purple,
black and blue. Yeah.
It's so crazy to me. And I guess like when you're out there, you're running at such a high speed, but also trying to maintain peripheral vision of who's chasing you. And obviously you have your team and the audience yelling and cheering. Are you even thinking about the risk factor of hitting yourself on the obstacles, or is that something you have to eradicate just to focus?
Honestly, not at all as far as like, am I going to fall and hit something? Just because for the most part, it's the same quad every single time. So now, especially for this 2021 competition, I know the quad even better. And I'm really used to like Ninja Warrior stuff where stuff's moving, spinning, like I'm on a rolling log, it's trying to make you fall.
Totally.
Whereas everything with this is stable and it's there and it's not meant to make you fall. So I guess I'm a little bit more precarious with my footsteps a lot of the times, just because I'm used to more the Ninja Warrior side of things rather than the parkour side of things, where a lot of parkour guys, if there's a little bit of water, they're like, oh no, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it.
I'm one of those, bro. Tell me about it. Unless you're born in the UK, then water is a part of life.
Right. That's the only thing they train on.
Exactly. No, that's super cool, man. And so along the lines of that, you guys obviously had a very successful run. What was cool was, like you said, a lot of you was your first time ever running it, which was unique because on some of the other teams, they had guys that had actually competed in the international competition before, and some of them were highly successful, like Tavon McVeigh got a chance to return. What do you, obviously we mentioned that you guys got second place, so 2-part question. Who won season 2020, and what do you think was their key to victory over beating you guys?
So Apex,
Tough subject. Poor dude, I saw in his eyes. He's like,
especially when we talk about 2021
yes,
results.
of course. We'll get to that soon.
Yeah, so 2020 USA Championships, Apex from Colorado, they ended up winning it out. And honestly, what it came down to really is just they are all insane athletes. They train so hard. And I know every single one of their team members all train super hard. And not to say they have a little bit of a edge, but they're training in Colorado, so they're training up at elevation. And when they come down to Atlanta, they're feeling really fresh. But at the end of the day, like, I don't think they had one single weak link on their line.
Totally.
So I think that's what it came down to.
Okay. And now, obviously, I want to segue into 2021 because it's the same show, same topic. I heard, and I don't want to spread an incorrect rumor here, but I heard that between 20 and 21, in Denver, there was a backyard that had a setup of the quad.
Yep.
And was that the official setup or was it a recreation of one?
That was actually the exact quad. So they, from Atlanta 2020, they packed it up and were basically like, we're not going to ship it back to London.
Where do we put it?
We're going to keep it here, and they're trying to figure out where to put it. So I think they worked out a deal with the guys with Apex, and they set it up at their house and basically had their own private quad for 3 months going into the 2021 competition.
And I got to see some of the practice videos. Like, they had access to it. Basically, whenever the weather was good, they could get on the quad and train in the exact competition environment.
And I think even when the weather is bad, they're still training out here. I saw them, like, sweeping up the water. I'm like, dude, you guys are going hard right now. And,
It is so crazy.
yeah, and like, I definitely don't want to take anything away from them because no matter what,
They're insane
2020,
athletes.
they're insane athletes, and they were totally cool and let anybody who wanted to travel there come and train on it. So it's not like they're like, hey, this is our thing.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys don't get to touch it. But they did have it in their backyard.
100%, man. And so what actual steps did you guys take between 2020 and 2021 in order to prepare yourselves for a second season based on the knowledge you had from the first season?
Well, for one, we picked up a couple new athletes. So we picked up Wes Preston from NoCap.
A former team who you guys faced in the quarterfinals of this year.
Yep, exactly. So that was a really cool matchup just because we had one of their old players going up against them. So Wes moved out to LA. So
That's why. Okay. I was curious.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we had a spot open up on our team. And we're basically like, hey, Wes, like, we know you're good and we know you're willing to train hard. And I think that's the biggest thing for our team is, like, we need someone who's dedicated to actually training hard.
Totally.
Because another thing going into this season was I don't want to be the only person really, really pushing to train hard. and I'm not saying that
I
to
feel
diss
you.
anyone else,
Yeah.
but going into last year, I trained as hard as I absolutely could for 3 weeks straight because that was how long I knew going into the competition. So after that competition, I was like, yo, we're going to step up our game. We want to win. And the entire team got onto it, and they're all doing sprints. So I think that was the biggest thing is just conditioning going into this competition.
I think that's so tough in the sense that, this is just my guess, but the hardest thing for me would be the fact that you guys aren't necessarily on contract getting paid during the preparation time because you're just gearing up for this event that's going to happen over the course of how many days was it?
This one was just for us 1 day. So they had 3 days, I believe, of competition beforehand.
Okay.
But since we got second place in the last competition, we got pushed on to quarterfinals.
Automatic bye.
Yep.
Okay.
So we were only doing 3 matchups in total.
Okay. That is crazy. And so did you feel significantly more ready this year comparative to the 3 weeks you had to prep for last year's?
I did because I had basically months to train for it. I knew it was coming. So I was able to more slowly transition into my sprints where I was doing like, okay, 2 sets of sprints a week, then 3, then 4, then up to 6. So then just having 1 rest day. So I had a lot more time to actually prepare for it.
Okay. And so the 2 biggest changes for 2021, in my personal opinion, were 1, it looked like there was a change of venue. And 2, like we mentioned and alluded to earlier, instead of stockpiling and releasing them episodically per week, ESPN actually chose to stream like the whole quarterfinals, semifinals, finals over the course of last week, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so they put it all into one 2-hour episode, which was incredible because like we were literally on ESPN.
Yes.
So they released it Friday night, which was basically a delayed live viewing to where we filmed it during the day, and then they took a few hours to edit it up and then released it that night.
Crazy.
So we all got to go to like the after party, watch it on the TVs at the bar, which was sick.
Sick.
And that was on ESPN2, and then actually the next day they released it on the full-on ESPN1 channel.
Yes,
which
yes.
is insane to think that like we were on ESPN1.
It's like the pinnacle of sports. I mean,
Right.
even the UFC was happy when they signed a deal with ESPN. Like, it's
Yeah.
such a major thing and network within, obviously the sports world. So
Yeah, for sure. And then us being in Ohio makes me never want to go back to Ohio again.
dude, why so? And I only ask that because in 2 weeks I'm supposed to go out there for a movie.
I'm so sorry.
I'm literally supposed to go for my first time ever on the 30th of this month.
Oh no! Wait, where in Ohio?
Cleveland, at
Oh,
least.
no.
Yeah. Cleveland. Oh.
Okay, so like half the teams, and I think this is more for the airlines.
Okay.
They like got stranded. They weren't able to make it out because like Spirit was canceling all their flights. American was canceling a ton of flights. So like everyone was just getting totally screwed over trying to travel there.
No way.
And for me, like I'm at the point in my life where like I don't do connecting flights unless
Dude, same.
I absolutely have to.
Same,
but
bro.
it's impossible to make it there
Without a
a
connecting.
connecting flight. So it just makes it like a 12-hour journey just to travel to Cleveland. And
Which
then-
should be like 4 or 5.
yeah, they have no food options. There's no Uber to Lyft. They're
Really?
like $50 to go 5 miles.
No way. There's
Yeah.
no. Oh, crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
And I know, like, I'll let, if you ever get, like, Tavon back on the
Yes,
podcast, he
yes.
can talk about their hotel because
Oh,
it
man.
was sketch. Razors in bathtub, stains everywhere.
No, dude, I have Tavon as a stunt double for me on a show later this week. I will definitely talk to him. and get some-
Absolutely.
Hey, yo, any 5'10" Asian guys out there looking to go to Ohio at the end of this month for
got a
8
fake
days?
contract for you.
Yeah, shoot me an email. I may have a job for you.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it was still a ton of fun, but I'm
Dude,
just not the biggest fan of Ohio.
It's so funny, man. And you know what's funny is I have a lot of friends that are from Ohio, and obviously it's a place that, what's crazy is a lot of amazing people are from Ohio.
Yep.
And I feel like, and it's always been a running joke with friends of mine that they're like, yeah, we all want to get the hell out of there. So we work so hard. Like Steph Curry's from Ohio,
Yeah.
right? Like Jake and Logan Paul are from Ohio, right? It's like LeBron James. So it's like all these amazing, talented people that have made tons of money. My friend was like, Connor Simon was like, yeah, we just want to get the hell out of there.
Right. They have something to work towards. If you grew up in LA, like, you already have the life, you know?
So crazy to think about, man. All right, well, good to know in regards to that, I guess. But then in regards to the actual thing taking place over the course of one day, was it the same as last year, where I believe last year it was two days for the entire comp? Was that the same this year as well? You guys just had a bye?
Yeah, I think they did probably 2 or 3. I don't remember
Okay.
exactly just because I wasn't there.
You guys
for
got
those
lucky
first-
then to
yeah.
rest, yeah.
Yeah, so basically we flew in a couple days in advance. I know they did a competition day when we got there, but we just went and watched and hung out. And then on the following day, we had our practice time, so we had an hour and a half to actually like get on the quad and run drills and
Okay.
just get used to it again. And then that Friday is when we actually competed. And then we did 3 matchups that day.
And so how many teams got an automatic bye from the previous season?
4.
Oh,
it was,
wow.
Yeah, the top 4 from
Okay.
the 2020 USA competition, which was us, APK Blue, and then Apex and GNF, who
Oh, okay.
we got to go up against GNF again, which was another big battle.
Yeah, 100%, man. And so, like, obviously heading into this season, there's probably like a lot of weight on your shoulders, obviously being the defending second place winners, as well as having a previous world record for most evasions and stuff like that. Did you feel a target on your back heading into this season?
A little bit, just because exactly what you said. Like, we got second place, we're already doing super well, have the whole
Yeah.
world record and everything, so I know people are gunning for me, but at the same time, like, I was prepared. And I know the entire team was prepared too, so we just felt super good going into it. Only issue is we had to go into it with only 5 people because Marcus, who was our second pickup, wasn't healed from a broken ankle yet, so we only had 5 versus a 6.
And so when that happens, does that just mean someone else runs an extra rep? or?
Yeah, basically, because we have the cap limit of 16 chases. Basically, whoever has the most points at the end of those 16 chases wins. So we don't have to necessarily run with the exact order all the way through. We can mix it up as we go, depending on how people feel. So our
And matchup wise.
right, exactly. If like I feel like I can get someone better than, let's say, Dale can get someone, then I'll go out instead. And we actually have a really good sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
A really good dynamic within our team.
Okay.
To where I usually go out first, I'll do my thing, see what I can do, and then as soon as I feel ready again, I'll jump back out, whether that's back at the restart of the lineup or third in the lineup, depending on how many chases I did right away.
Crazy. And you like starting it off? Do you enjoy being that one to set the tone and kind of see how many points you can score right away?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, I love it. And it gives me that chance to really get points on the board immediately.
Yes.
And then that just puts the other team in a totally different headspace just because
playing catch up.
Yeah, like 1 point can make the entire difference of the entire matchup.
Okay. And so one of the things I gotta bring up, bro, and I was curious, I'm curious what your thoughts were when this was happening. So spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's on ESPN and on demand and stuff like that. I got worried for your record only because during one of the early quarterfinals, there was a technical difficulty with the buzzers, and Seth Wang got the opportunity to rest for an exorbitant amount of time in between matches because the buzzers, there was something wrong with the timers, right?
Yeah, that was actually crazy to watch, and I was sitting there like, oh no, because Seth Wang is like,
it's amazing.
Yeah, he's one of the best athletes out there, but luckily Tempest was able to close them out and make sure it didn't happen. But that was just like a really rough point because there's nothing Tempest can do. There's nothing that the organizers can do because they're dealing with a technical difficulty, so they just had to work through it. But
did you guys find out what was wrong? Was it just a timer that was wrong? It just sounded like the buzzer kept going off like every 10 seconds or
I
something.
think it was just a weird thing with the system, and the afterwards they're like, yo, you guys, we're so sorry, we understand this isn't how the competition's supposed to go, like we'll figure it out, and I trust that they will. But yeah, I was a little bit worried, but at the same time it's like, I know if he does beat it, like there'll be a little asterisk there, like because that's the big thing with getting a bunch of evasions in a row. Like
the recovery.
Yeah, it's the recovery. You only got 25 seconds.
Yeah, I was sitting there like, oh no, Kyle's record's about to get broken right now just because this guy's recovering tons of times. You know? So
for sure.
That is dope. That's super cool, man. So obviously on this round, you guys had a little bit more experience and you came into it. You saw some teams that you faced earlier last year as well. What do you think was the key to your success this year? And then you can let people know what you guys ended up placing as well.
Yeah, so key to success really was just the entire team coming together and training hard. Like there's not, in my opinion, one weak link in our entire team other than injury.
Totally, can't beat that,
Yeah, we start off with 5, and really the key to success is everyone coming together and working hard leading up to the competition. So we ended up going in, like I said, we got a bye into the quarterfinals. Yep. We beat No Cap, which was our first matchup, which then brought us up against GNF, who is actually the team that landed basically the first big sponsorship of entire Chase Tag, which was with a esports company called Envy, and ended up beating them. And I think, in my opinion, that's our biggest rivalry right there.
Wow.
Just because we went up against them twice last year. They beat us the first time, we beat them the second time, so it was 1-1 coming into this competition. So I think we all tried super, super hard in that one. And everyone, the entire team came together, and they are all getting their tags, and we built up enough points to beat them out.
Yes.
So we beat them out, which then brought us up to the first and second place.
The finals match.
Up against good old Apex again.
No way!
So yeah. It was literally a repeat of last year.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't want to ruin for everyone, but it was cool to see, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a repeat of last year, went up against Apex. They beat us out.
What was the final score? I forget. Do you remember?
I believe it was 4-2, if I remember correctly. But in that matchup, we were actually down to 4 guys because Wes tweaked his leg during the GNF matchup.
Oh, no.
And then also Miguel was dealing with some ankle issues. So really we were at like 3.5 guys.
Dang, against 6.
So yeah.
6 defending champions.
So there was really at that point nothing we can do. I mean, going into the international competition now, because we got second place, we got an automatic bye to the
Heck
international,
yes.
which I'm super psyched for. Hopefully we'll all be healed up and ready to go. So
Hell yes.
having
Hell
a
yeah.
full 6-man team will feel really nice after going with 4.
Yeah, having an injured list of stuff like that, I'm sure. And so do you know, obviously we've mentioned there's going to be an international competition. Do you know if the U.S. competition is going to continue to go on annually as well?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, they want to do U.S. and then they also want to do like local European. And then
Qualifiers and stuff.
Yep, exactly. I think it was like Japan or something. They've done basically a local national competition
Cool.
in Japan. So I think the big idea for the whole thing is to, okay, let's get a India competition, Europe competition, Japan, USA, and then have all those separate national competitions and have the top teams from those all come together for a big international competition.
100%. Super, super sick to see. It's just cool, like we mentioned on your first episode on here. It just, to me, this seems like one of the most logical progressions for a parkour and free running athlete to take and put themselves on a bigger platform, as well as like a goal to have, besides just stunt work.
Absolutely. Like I have such big visions for this entire sport because I know parkour has been so hard for so many athletes to actually like make a full-time living and make it really
Totally.
a
Make
professional
real money.
sport and
Yeah.
be a professional athlete. So I guess my goals for it is to be one of the best athletes in the competition, but also make like a full-time living
Totally.
off of it. And
Yeah.
I want all the teams to make full-time livings as well if they want to just do that.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think what's super crazy is that not only have you competed on this show, which is a competition, we've talked about it before, we competed on Ultimate Beastmaster, which is a competition, but you most recently, and based on when this episode releases, you are also competing on this season of American Ninja Warrior as well again.
Yep.
So how many years is this back on ANW?
So Ninja, I started off with American Ninja Warrior Ninja vs. Ninja, which was
Yes.
like a spin-off, more of like a racing style show.
Team competition.
Yep,
Yeah.
team competition, head-to-head, a little bit like Chase Tag. But so this year would be my 3rd year now competing on Ninja Warrior.
Wow.
Yep, and the prelim qualifier episode has already released.
Yes,
So
we could talk about that.
yeah, we can talk about that one, but actually Monday the 23rd of August is when my semifinals episode comes out.
Okay, we got to watch.
So, yep, be sure to tune in to NBC for that one.
Dang, that is so crazy, man. And so, like, I got to ask you, like, what is it about these competitions that continue to push you to enter? Because, for someone like myself, like, obviously I'm obsessed with athletics and doing the same things, but I personally couldn't see myself putting myself just out there on a competition with the hopes of winning money. You know what I'm saying? So what is it that drives you to continue to enter these?
Honestly, it's like I'm just through and through a competitor.
Okay.
So my entire life has just been involved with competitions, whether it's like snowboarding,
Yes.
competitive paintball, motocross, all of these different sports I've done my entire life. I've always just been competitive and loved competition. And really my entire life, I never got paid for any of these sports.
Exactly, right. Totally.
But like on top of being a competitor, I have a ton of different aspirations and passions in my life. So it's not like I need the money from being an athlete and a competitor. So really, yeah, that's what it just comes down to, is getting on all these different shows and doing my thing just because I love it. And my hopes for it is, even though, let's say I'm on Ninja Warrior, I'm not getting paid to do it unless I win the entire thing.
Yeah.
I get the exposure,
Yes.
which that's another one of my passions and hopes and goals, is to build up that social media following and hopefully get sponsored and start making some money off of that.
Okay, and so this may be a difficult question to answer, and if you want to skirt around it, you can.
Okay.
Of the 3, Beastmaster, Ninja Warrior, Ultimate World Chase Tag, is there one that is your favorite to compete in, or is there one that is the most challenging as far as preparation is concerned? Maybe that's an easier question. So you don't have to pick a favorite.
It'll be different between most challenging and favorite.
Okay,
so
cool.
I would
Let's
definitely
break it down.
say Ninja Warrior being the most challenging to prepare for, because you have to be so multifaceted for that sport, just because there's the grip strength, there's the agility, there's the swinging, and there's just so much that goes into it. So it takes so much time to train for it.
And it's not a fixed quad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that World Chase Tag's easy by any means, but everything's fixed in place. You know what you're getting into, and you really just have to remember the quad and have great agility and great endurance.
Okay.
So if you can get those things, then you're probably going to be a pretty great World Chase Tag athlete. And I think that'll evolve as the sport evolves as well.
Yeah.
Just because the athletes are going to get so much better. There's going to be different beta and meta
Totally.
going on. But I would say hardest being Ninja Warrior,
Okay.
and then the one I like the most will probably be World Chase Tag, just because for me that's the most competitive. That's the most true like sport.
Yeah, I
Whereas
feel
Ninja
you.
Warrior, it's TV show first and then sport second.
Yeah. And you're kind of competing against yourself in Ninja Warrior, so to speak. Like you're kind of competing to finish the course and against the clock, whereas in World Chase Tag, you're physically going against someone like mano a mano, you know?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And that's what I've been doing my whole life. Is in most of the sports, it's mano a mano. Like I grew up with
Yes.
2 older brothers, so I was competing directly with them.
Totally.
So that it just feels natural to me for Chase Tag.
Okay. And now I feel like a lot of kids will want to know the answer to this, and maybe it's not an easy answer, so maybe you can just speak about your own personal experience. But for kids out here who are watching these shows, whether it be, Beastmaster, Chase Tag, or Ninja Warrior, do you have any advice or tips on ways that they could try to get into those arenas themselves, or ways to integrate themselves into the communities with the hopes of eventually getting onto the TV shows?
I would say, yeah, just follow whatever you're passionate about. Like that's what I've done my entire life. I see a sport, like, oh, dude, that looks super cool. I'm gonna go do it because that looks fun.
Yes.
And just like do whatever you're passionate about. And let's say if that's not parkour, but it's snowboarding, like go to snowboarding clubs and just meet other people who do that snowboard.
Yeah.
Or for me, it's like parkour. I absolutely love parkour. So there's a weekly jam every single Saturday in LA. So I go to the jam as much as I can, just because I love being part of the community, and I love just experiencing different parts of the community, and through that gets you different avenues of, okay, if I never would have gotten into the parkour community, I would have never gotten on World Chase Tag.
Totally. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And now, obviously, 3 seasons on Ninja Warrior, Beastmaster, Chase Tag. They even have trading cards with you guys on them these days, which is
Yes.
pretty cool. Are you starting to feel like, for lack of a better term, that you're starting to get treated more like a professional athlete in sports and disciplines where for a long time I felt like they were just hobbies for all of us,
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of that comes from World Chase Tag. Like, they treat us so well, and they actually treat us like professional athletes. And I think going down the road, like once we actually get bigger sponsors coming into the sport and sponsors coming to actually sponsor specific teams, I think that level will only go up from here.
100.
And with like Ninja Warrior, like I said before, it's TV show first,
Yeah.
sport second. So we're not going to get treated like professional athletes. So it's really refreshing to actually be treated that way.
Totally, man. No, that is super, super cool. And now, along the lines of that, with all of the competitions that you've done, and obviously treating it more like a professional athlete, in that sense, what's your training schedule like? Like, do you treat yourself like a pro athlete as far as your training regimen and recovery is concerned, or how do you maintain your body?
Absolutely. So going into the competition, it really, for me, comes down to what's next. So if I have a competition in 3 months, I really ramp up my training and especially recovery. I found like going into this 2021 World Chase Tag competition, having 3 months in advance to train for it, I felt so much better just because I was training super hard, but I also had the time to recover as well.
Yes.
So I felt so much better actually competing. And then I'll be honest, as soon as the competition was done, like I was slamming pizza and slamming chocolate chip cookies.
The off season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But really, during like the off season, I'm just kind of maintaining. So I'll probably cut it down to maybe doing sprints once or twice a week, and then just doing my normal like workout training regimen where I'm just keeping my body athletic. And then probably once I hear dates for the next competition, whether that being World Chase Tag or Ninja Warrior, I'll really ramp up my training because at the end of the day, I just really don't want to burn out.
Yeah, 100%. Or also get injured, right? Like that. If you get injured, you can't do any of these things. So
yeah, exactly.
It's like part of it. No, that's super cool, man. And I think one of the main things that you alluded to earlier, which is what you said, which you continue to do these competitions because not only do you have a drive for competition, but you're not basing your financial success and your living expenses based upon these shows. You have other things that you're doing. I know one, for example, we've talked about before is you being a professional stuntman in film and television. But I think one of the other things that we didn't get a chance to talk about last time, which is something I wanted to dive into deeper here, is in college, I think you actually got a real estate license. Is that correct? Or when did you actually become like a real estate broker or get your license?
Yeah, so I'm actually I don't have a real estate license.
Okay,
but in college,
you studied real estate though.
Yeah, I studied real estate, which is basically like a 4-year degree in real estate, bachelor's degree in real estate, and that didn't get me a license, but
crazy.
Yeah.
What the hell? Yeah, because I know
know
people can get their license in shorter than 4 years, obviously.
Right. It's a lot easier just to get your license,
Totally.
but for that degree, what a lot of people go into is like development or like commercial property management, those kind of avenues where you don't need a license.
Not just sales necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I found in college is I have a really big passion for real estate. And so I switched my major to that and didn't ever end up even using that degree, which is hilarious.
Of course, same as mine.
What it did bring me to do in college was, I think it was sophomore year, I actually really got into real estate investing, which you don't need a license for, which is essentially, depending on what avenue you're taking in real estate investing, it's you buy a property, you rent it out, and you make money from that property. So what I did was what they call, I guess, house hacking or room hacking, where I bought a 4-bedroom house, did a little bit of quick renovating, and this was in Minnesota, so it was pretty cheap. So I bought it with only a part-time job, which is insane to me. You definitely can't do that in LA.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah.
I really hustled to build up a little bit of money, got the right financing, went to like 15 different lenders until one like actually was willing to work with me, and bought a house, did all the renovation myself, which was really just like some electrical stuff, some plumbing stuff, which I hated, and then rented out the 3 other rooms to some of my friends in college and lived in that until college was over.
Wow. And do you still own that property right now?
I do. And I've actually been considering selling it just because of how ridiculous the market is right now. But at the end of the day, I think I'm just going to keep it and try to keep my portfolio pretty diversified in that sense. But I'm actually stepping back a little bit from real estate just because there's other investment avenues that I'm digging a little bit more right now. And I think in a few years, once the market goes down again,
takes a dip again,
I'll do some more buying.
Okay. And I feel like for kids that are out there listening to us, I think that the concept of buying a house seems like a daunting task, either A, from a financial standpoint, and B, just from like a how the hell do I even do that standpoint, right? Like at least now you can go watch like stuff on YouTube. I even watch tutorials and real estate advice from guys online. But what advice would you have for like, kids that are young parkour and, Ninja Warrior athletes that are trying to save up money to get their first property? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, just what you said is save up and understand that. I remember when I first started learning about it, I was like, whoa, like what is all this information? But after like a few months of just learning and getting into it, it all became so much easier. So just if you have the passion for it, just dive in and learn as much as possible because there's so much free information out there that you can learn how to do everything that you want to do just from the internet. Just Google, Google how to rent out a house and how to buy a house, how to invest in real estate. So I think at the end of the day, like don't be scared. Like just jump in both feet and learn about it and make sure you get that education before you buy anything, because last thing you want is to buy a dud and just go underwater on everything and just lose a ton of money. But if you do all the right education, then it's honestly easy.
I think it's what's really cool about your story is just the fact that you were able to buy something during college, which is a point where pretty much universally everyone knows that you're probably broke. Like
Yeah.
when you're in college, I was broke, right? Like I was working part-time jobs all the time too. So I think that's cool just to show that like you don't necessarily have to have, 6 to 7 figures in the bank in order to
Yep.
buy a house, right? Like
Yeah.
as long
And I think it would be good too just to share numbers as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, I was in a special situation where I'm from Minnesota and that's where I went to college, so things are a lot cheaper there.
Totally.
And the house I ended up buying was only $100,000
Total.
which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a lot of money to a lot of people. But as far as housing and real estate goes, it's actually really cheap.
you
Or-
can't even get a down payment in LA for $100,000 sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So just with all the education that I did, I learned that you can get really cheap down payments. So I only did 5% down.
Wow.
Which at the end of the day was only $5,000, and then I did I think $3,000 worth of renovations, which I did all for the most part myself.
Okay.
So all in, at the end of the day, I only paid $8,000.
And in order to get approved, like obviously you mentioned you went to tons of different lenders to finally get approval, but did you have to have like a certain amount of money in your bank reserved, or you just have to have a good credit score, or what did they base it off of in order to approve you then?
All of the above. So you have to have enough money in the bank to show like, hey, I'm actually gonna be able to pay this down payment, and then you have to have income coming in, and then of course a good credit score as well, which is something I've been working super hard at basically since I could get credit.
Same.
Yeah.
since I was like 17 and could get a credit card, I was like, let's establish some credit.
Yep. So that's the biggest thing I think is just building up that credit score. And if that's something you're not already focusing on,
Yes.
do that. Do that first and just really work at that. Get a credit card.
Yes.
Understand how credit cards work.
Yes.
Pay it off every single month and start building that credit score.
Another great way for kids, I feel like, when you're first starting off too, if you don't want to deal with credit cards, obviously you should because that's a huge part of it. Another key way that I built credit was in college and stuff. I always put the utilities in my name.
Yep, I did that too.
Because knowing that the utilities would be split amongst all of us cost-wise, but I put the utilities in my name so that I had a recurring bill on a cycle for gas, electricity, internet, phone. And so you're just continually building credit, showing companies that you have an outstanding amount and you pay it every month.
Yep. Yep. And then another thing too is car loans. I mean,
Yes.
you don't have to go buy a brand new car, but if you're going to buy a used cheap car, put it on a loan. Yeah,
Just
you're
finance
gonna,
it, yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be paying a little bit in interest, but for me, like I'd rather have a great credit score because that'll save me money down the road than just paying it all off at once.
Yeah.
And then you have that cash left over to go invest in real estate.
So, and we're probably saying a lot of things that may not make sense to a lot of kids, but if you have a higher credit score, generally speaking, what happens is companies trust the fact that you're paying your bills on time and that you don't have a lot of debt. So what they'll do is they'll either A, offer you more money when you go to do a house loan or a car loan or something down the road, or you can get a lower interest rate, which means that, like Kyle said, even if you finance a car now, down the road it'll help you because you'll pay a lower interest rate on probably a bigger purchase in the end.
Exactly.
So crazy to think about, man. And so at this point, and you can only answer this if you want to, but do you have more than one property in your portfolio?
So right now I do just have the one,
Okay.
and there was a point where we were working on one, but we kind of backed out of that deal. And right now my brother's actually really going headfirst into buying a property, and what we'll probably end up doing is once he gets one property, then we'll kind of combine them together and just start building out a portfolio together. But this is all patience,
Yeah.
like in real estate, that's one of the biggest things, just have patience, because like I don't need to buy a property this year because I see everything so expensive. It's hard to make money on it.
And that's what I was going to ask you, which is, obviously this is taking a turn from movement into housing, but that's one of my favorite things about these Jamcasts is when we talk about stuff outside of our movement, because, the guests that I have on the show, like yourself and so many others, are entrepreneurial in so many different ways and stuff like that. So, why do you think people are so obsessed with buying houses during this state when everything is so high? Do you think it's because of COVID and people just want to have a place to rest their heads and call their own? Or what do you think is leading this market right now?
Yeah, that's so hard to answer
Yeah.
because who knows? I guess my opinion would be like everyone's buying something, so why don't I buy something? Like,
And do you think another part of it is the fact that during COVID, there's probably less construction on new stuff available, so there's probably like a scarcity issue as well right now?
Absolutely, and there's just more people getting out of renting and trying to get into more of a stable home too. So I think it's, at the end of the day, it just comes down to a supply and demand issue where just everyone wants a house and there's not enough to be sold.
Fundamentals of business, they never change, yes, right? Yeah, supply and demand will always exist. That's cool, man. And so outside of real estate and stuff like that, what other stuff are you delving into that you're able to talk about? Or maybe you can just kind of hint at what you're going to go into next.
Yeah, so I guess there's so much that I just like do. It's crazy. Like, for the most part, I only post about like my movement and athletics, but there's so much more going on. As you know, I want to really hit on the professional stuntman, and at the end of the day, I really want that to be my full-time income, and then have all these other income streams, whether that's real estate, whether that's investing. I'm really big into crypto, and now I'm starting to jump into like NFTs. I don't know have you jumped into NFTs?
I have not. I obviously have tons of friends that have, but I have not. I have friends that are buying planets, and dude, my friends bought planets last week.
Yeah, dude, it's such a crazy space, and I love it just because it's so interesting to me. Like, you can literally make money off of a JPEG.
Dude, it's absolutely insane, the gains in crypto. And I've had other guests on here like Kyle Cordova, where we talked about some crypto as well, but for those out there that are listening, the only reason why it's such a common occurring topic is because for some of us, it's been insanely successful. My portfolio in crypto is doing really well right now. I have a buddy of mine who is a former member of Tempest Free Running, former pro free runner. He's now a photographer, and I'm going to have him on the Jamcast. Earlier this year, one of our buddies gave us a tip on like a gaming coin to get into. It's called Axie. I think he bought in for like sub $1, and last week it hit $74. And so basically he just off of one crypto alone in the last year earned almost 300 grand. And if he hadn't pulled profits earlier in the year, that was worth 980 grand right now.
Yeah, dude, it's wild.
It's crazy.
And that's one of the big reasons why I've kind of pulled away from real estate, because I see all this other opportunity. And I know it's going to be big. And for me, for the most part, I don't invest in those like big speculative plays. Like, I invest in like the bigger stuff. So like Ethereum. Like, my big three is Ethereum, Cardano, and then Chainlink. Okay. But I have a cool story, like what you're saying, is Dogecoin. Everyone loves the Doge.
Everyone loves it, yeah.
So probably like 2.5 years ago, I saw something on like TikTok, like, oh, Dogecoin's going to the moon. It's like, I'll throw $15 in.
No shit.
Yep. And then if I would have sold at the top, which I sold half of it at the top, it would have been $10,000.
$15.
Yep. So like, I still made $5,000 off of it, and I think right now the rest is worth like a few $1,000s, which is absolutely ridiculous.
It's the craziest, bro. I talked about it on my episode with Kyle, where I literally forgot I had a My Ether wallet. And I for 5 years, I forgot. I couldn't find the login, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he just mentioned a word, and I was like, oh shit. And so I just searched my emails for that one word, and it pulled up a document. Sure enough, I logged into My Ether wallet. I had 60K worth of coins that I forgot about for 5 years, bro. One of which this year, like, my buddy just sent me a stat yesterday, and it's like one of the highest growth coins, which I had 1 million shares of Telcoin that I forgot. And there was a stat that came out yesterday that if you had invested $1,000 in Telcoin earlier this year, it'd be worth 100K today. Dude. I'm like, why didn't I buy more? Why didn't I buy more? I would have easily put a couple grand in. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Oh, 100%, especially in crypto.
100% in crypto, man. And so with that being said, obviously you just mentioned your big three, which are obviously more Ethereum ERC20 based as opposed to going with Bitcoin, which a lot of people call the king and stuff like that. Do you think that's just because of technology in the end and use cases, or what is your reason behind not following the king, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I just see more growth, and exactly what you're saying. There's way more use cases, and especially with the NFT market blowing up, like, for the most part, that's all based off of Ethereum, and especially with like Ethereum 2.0 to lower the gas prices and all of that. Technical mumbo jumbo.
Yes. And also a lot of the coins that I want to buy eventually are on sites like Uniswap and different sites where almost using Ethereum is way quicker and better than using BTC to buy it.
And like, I totally understand, and I do hold a little bit of
Same,
Bitcoin.
same,
Yeah.
of course, because I don't want to be stupid, be caught without any at all. You know?
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And so, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm just not passionate about the
feel you.
Bitcoin. Like, I believe in these other coins a little bit more, so that's what I'm putting in weekly, monthly.
And are you still playing traditional stock market? I remember last time we talked, you had kind of taken a pausation just simply because finances, you wanted to just focus on other stuff. We were in the middle of a global pandemic where no one was working.
Yeah, and that's actually why I love that you always ask that goal question.
Yeah.
Because, like, before this, I looked back on what I said for my goals. And
You had a list.
Yeah, I ticked off half of my 1 year goals, which is incredible.
It's crazy.
You know, so I'm still investing in stocks, but I pulled back more on that, and
Okay.
I have a portfolio, but most of my money that's going out weekly to investments is going into crypto.
Wow. Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah,
You
so
should
basically,
really.
I
you're
basically
deep.
wanted to get my stock portfolio to X amount of dollars,
Yes,
and I
yes.
was happy with that. And once that happened, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go into a little bit more risky stuff.
I feel you on that. And do you mind asking what exchange you use or what app you primarily use for trading?
Yeah, so I use Coinbase,
Okay.
and then for what I put in weekly, Coinbase Pro, just because the
Yeah.
fees are way less.
Way less.
Yeah.
It looks a lot uglier, but it's way, way better.
It
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
absolutely. So I do that, and then Binance US.
Yeah.
I do MetaMask for
Yeah,
my wallet.
Of course.
What else do I do? And then Clever Wallet, which
Oh, okay.
I actually hold a lot of Tron, and that's where I leave the Tron, because actually, like, I get 30 Tron a day.
No way.
Because you can...
It's like farming.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
You can, like, freeze the tokens and, like, vote for their super representatives and
Yes.
basically get money back. So,
Yeah,
like,
I'm farming a Pancake
Okay.
from Pancake Swap. Yeah, I'm farming
yeah.
Cake right now.
right.
Yeah.
Sick.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and it's cool that, like, you get those dividends back.
It's just
And-
passive income. I forgot about my Cake log on last month, and they're like, "Oh, you can yield $500 worth of cake." I'm like, "Done."
Yeah, cool.
Yield.
Thanks for the money.
Thank you. I put it all into Ethereum. I'm like, "Good." Now we're
Right.
sitting on, like 0.2 Ethereum. Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, like, 0.2 is a lot of money right now.
Adds up, baby. I'm trying to have as many whole coins as I can, you know?
Right,
Like, that's the
same.
goal. That is crazy, man. No, that's super, super cool to see. And like I said, more than anything, I hope that this doesn't fall on deaf ears. I find that we tend to get a lot of comments on episodes where we talk about finances and stuff outside of just movement, because I feel like at the end of the day, like, you know, money doesn't buy happiness, but it
Right.
definitely does affect the way that the world goes round and the choices that we make as individuals, as athletes, as performers, and, you know, especially as far as our careers are concerned. So
100%. And at the end of the day, it's like you don't have to have just one passion.
Correct.
Like, yes, like probably my biggest passion is athletics and just movement. But like I have 10 other passions behind
Yes.
that. It's just that's what I post about. So it's really cool to be able to talk about, like, yeah, I don't just love this. Like, I love crypto, I love
Yes.
NFTs, I love real estate, and all
Like-
of this stuff, and just business in general.
100. Yeah, I feel like, you know, perception is what you let the world see of you, you know, and for so many people, they're just so impressed with what you're able to do physically with your body that they have no idea what you're able to do with your brain, which is probably one of the biggest muscles and things that you have in your arsenal, you know?
Right, for sure.
It's just so funny what people see from the outside. But hopefully we continue to inspire future generations. I wish these were talks that happened when I was younger.
Yep.
I personally feel like this is the stuff that should be taught in school. Like, you know, I didn't even know
100%.
that you can take real estate as a course in college.
Right, I had
Like, I had no idea until you talked about it on our
Yeah.
last episode off camera. And so, yeah, I really hope that I'm able to individually continue to at least bring some stuff to the forefront for kids to have an opportunity to look at. So,
Absolutely, I love that.
yeah, 100%, man. And so with that being said, obviously we know you got Ninja Warrior coming up. Everyone should check out the episode that's coming out next week. Is there anything else on the horizon for 2021 as far as personal or career-wise?
Honestly, just like stunt work.
Okay.
It's like I'm gonna really get back and grind hard to work a ton, because I had a super fortunate spring to where I was almost working constantly.
Yes.
Like, it was incredible. I know we like started training for a couple weeks, and then I think we all just got busy.
Yep.
Which is
It's the best
great.
problem to have. Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. And that slowed down a little bit coming in the summer, but I was expecting that. That's
Yeah.
just how the industry goes. So
We got to wait for pilot season in the fall. It'll be crazy again.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I know that's going to happen, but right now, just really delving into my stunt skills and just
Okay.
trying to level up as much as possible in every single area that I can. And then, of course, still investing and doing all of that and just kind of maintaining my athletics.
Yes, 100%. And then as far as training is concerned, are you taking trips to travel and train at different venues and different gyms, or you still just have a plan that you're able to follow here in LA locally?
Right now, it's just local, especially for like training and stuff. I really kind of take that month by month just to see what's going on, and if there's a reason for me to, let's say, go back to Minnesota and train a little bit at Obstacle Academy, I'll go and do that. Or I really do want to go out to a few parkour gyms around the country, but.
Yeah.
Especially with like COVID, like who knows, like at the end of the day, I don't want to go and travel somewhere and end up getting sick and not be able to work a stunt job because
100%.
I got COVID, you know?
That's the craziest thing. I met a guy on set like a month ago, and he got COVID, had no symptoms, but he couldn't test negative for 3 months. For some reason, it stayed in his system, even though he wasn't feeling bad. He felt 100%, but he couldn't get a negative test.
Dude.
So he couldn't work for 3 months,
Right.
dude. It's like, it's killer.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell, dude? Like, I'm
Like-
not even sick and I can't work. Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
that could be a lot of money.
yeah, as we know, right? So no, that's super cool, man. And then obviously, with the success that you guys faced in 2020 and 2021 on World Chase Tag, we're definitely looking forward to seeing what you do on the world stage and the international competition. So with that being said, man, before we get out of here, I gotta ask the famous question, and we will see if the answer's changed. You know?
Yep.
Yes,
The
and he's got
phone's coming
notes.
out. I knew you were
I love it,
expecting
dude. There's only been a few people on this show that have a full-on list, and Kyle actually writes this down. So Kyle, now where do you personally see yourself 5 years from now, and then where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Alrighty, so
And if you have shorter timelines, lay it out.
yep.
Yeah, I know you used to have a
always do
1 year.
5 and 10, but for me, a lot of it's one.
A 1, right?
And like 1.5.
Yeah.
So for the most part on this list, it's up until the end of 2022 for
Okay.
my 1/1.5 year. So again, 1X. I want to work that. Still haven't been able to.
Which is, for those that don't know, that's being the lead stunt double on a movie, doubling the #1 lead actor.
And to expand on that, basically double Ryan Reynolds.
I was
Yep,
going to say,
I
you
think-
look so much like him and Gosling.
right. Him and
Dude,
Gosling.
yeah.
That's what I said last year, and I
Yep.
still have that in my mind, and
Okay.
I'm really pushing for it, and I really think that can happen within
Yeah.
the next year and a half. So with that, working a full run of a show or film.
Okay.
That's still a really big milestone that I haven't hit. World Chase Tag International, I want to get that first place.
Yes,
I
dog.
think, I really, truly believe that this next one coming up, we can do it.
Okay.
100,000 on Instagram and
Hey.
get verified.
Yep.
So I broke the 10,000.
That's huge. Once you
Mark?
get that K,
Yep.
changes everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is huge. And then, which helps build on that, Red Bull sponsored athlete. And it's never really been something that I thought I could actually do until World Chase Tag.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, a lot of what I talk about when I'm a kid, or from like what I do, is like, what would my 12-year-old self think? And I always think back to like where I'm at and what I'm doing is like, my 12-year-old self would be so psyched right now
So
with
stoked.
everything I'm doing. So like if I don't work for a month, like I'm kind of like down on myself, like, dude, I really need to book something or do this. But now I kind of think back, I'm like, dude, my 12-year-old self would be psyched.
Your 12-year-old self, probably just like mine, probably couldn't have even dreamt of the scope
No.
of what we're doing now.
Not absolutely not. So, and one of those things where I remember thinking back as a kid, like I always wanted to be a Red Bull athlete because they're
Yes.
the best athletes out there. It's just a huge thing, you know, as
Yeah.
any sort of athlete in any action sport. So that being said, within the next year and a half, I would like to really get a meaningful income.
Yeah.
And like what we're talking about, like I'll have a bunch of different incomes, but I really want to get to a full-time income from being an athlete and from being
Yes.
a sponsored athlete.
And then just have passive sources.
Exactly. So whether that's with Red Bull or a different company, that's not the absolute end goal is Red Bull, but I think that would really make my 12-year-old self happy.
Yes, hell yes.
And then one of my big ones for NFT land would be a hollow adventurous astronaut, which will sound absolutely ridiculous to anybody who doesn't
Okay.
know what we're talking about,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's one of Gary V's projects.
Oh, yes.
And I bought in on his launch and
I have friends about the V cards
Yep.
and all those, yeah.
just made a ridiculous amount of money already off of that.
Wow.
So that's my big goal, which is a very, very expensive NFT.
Wow.
Yeah. So 5 years, in the next 5 years, like I said before, being married, starting a family, just kind of building out that side of my life.
Yes.
And then something I can't really talk too much about now.
All
because
good, yeah.
It's in development, but running a successful business at that point. And
Oh, yes.
we can talk offline.
We'll talk,
but-
yeah, of course, yeah.
But I'm actually really, really excited about that, and that's taken up a lot of my time right now, actually. I want to become what I call the Ricky Carmichael of chase tag. So Ricky Carmichael is what they call the GOAT of motocross.
Totally.
So greatest of all time. I really want within the next 5 years to position myself as
Set
the
some more
greatest.
records, yeah. Set
just
some
keep
records and win
setting
some
records
titles.
and really just leading what it is to be a professional chase tag athlete. And the next 5 years, just be financially free and just doing what I want. So whether that's continuing to do more stunt work, whether that's just going to a beach and chilling because I don't want to work anymore, I don't exactly know, but I'm sure it'll be running a business and just kind of taking a step back from like the day-to-day grind and enjoying what I do. And then 10 years, just literally all I have is being insanely happy.
Wow.
So, like I said, with the 5-year goal is just doing whatever makes me happy. And that may be stunt work, that may be still being an athlete. I'm not sure, but I just want to kind of take the path that makes me happy.
100%, man. And I feel like that's such a great answer, because I feel like a lot of times our goals are based upon monetary things or status symbols or like we said, a career goal. But just to talk about like a state of happiness is probably the ultimate thing to achieve, in my opinion. So.
Absolutely. And I completely agree. And I caught myself when I was like writing down my new set of goals is like, okay, I want to be a millionaire at this point. I'm like, no, like, I don't necessarily want that. I want that in my mind to just have a goal to work towards, but that's not really going to contribute to my happiness because I'm not going to be using that money day to day. It's just more of my passion of building a portfolio of investments. Yeah,
100%. It's really interesting. You're a man of many different walks of life and things, so it's hard to define you in one box, and I think that's the name of the game, in order to be successful in life, which is, diversify.
Absolutely. And diversify.
Portfolios, skill sets, anything, baby.
Passions.
Exactly.
All of it.
Diversification.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. But nah, man, more than anything, dude, I really, really appreciate you coming back on here to share some insight about what happened on World Chase Tag. I know we made it a point after your first interview to say like, dude, we got to bring you back, talk about the results and stuff like that. And I'm also really excited to hear what the future brings for you and whatever this business may be. Should it launch in the near future, let us know. We'll come back on here and talk about it and let the audience know. So,
dude, thank you for having me. It's always fun.
Dude, always the best times catching up, man. So, before we get out of here, can you just look into this camera and let people know where they continue to follow you and your personal journey and everything you got going on, including Ninja Warrior next week?
For sure. So, best place to see my stuff day to day would be Instagram at Minnesoterman. TikTok would be at Kyle Soderman, Twitter, same thing, Minnesoterman, and then definitely check out the next thing coming up, which is Ninja Warrior, and that'll be on NBC Monday night, the August 23rd.
Hell yeah, guys. Please be sure to like that episode and support Kyle. And as always, guys, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for brand new Jamcast, interviewing influential members of the movement community like Mr. Kyle Soderman himself. So that being said, guys, I got to give one more special thank you. Thanks for coming through, homie. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again.
Hell yeah. We'll see you next year, hopefully for the championship title.
For sure. Yeah.
Let's
I'm
go.
down for it.
And as always, guys, coming through. I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another Jamcast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.